reporter pressured him, got picked apart, and stopped. Kell Brook came in sharp, gone in 4 rounds. Every style, every strategy, every so-called 50-50 fight, he solves them before the final bell. Even Errol Spence, the man who was supposed to test him, got dismantled in 9 flawless rounds. He makes them look too easy, and that's the problem. Boxing lives on suspense. Some say he ruined boxing. Terence Allen Crawford was born in Omaha, Nebraska in 1987. His parents were both fighters, not in the ring, but in the way they lived. The home wasn't peaceful. His mother, Deborah, once told reporters she'd offer money to neighborhood kids to fight him, just to make him meaner. She wasn't joking. Crawford fought in the streets, at school, and eventually in the gym. He compiled a 58-12 amateur record and beat names like Danny Garcia and Mikey Garcia before they turned pro. He missed the Olympics by a sliver, but he didn't care. He wasn't waiting for validation. In 2008, Crawford turned professional. He fought on small cards, stayed active, and beat whoever they put in front of him. Then in June of 2014 it happened. The Crawford versus Yuriorkis Gamboa fight in Omaha. Gamboa was a 2004 Olympic gold medalist, a former unified featherweight champion, and entered the ring 23-0. Most saw him as Crawford's first real test, someone who could expose him. In the early rounds, Gamboa used speed and movement to confuse Crawford. He landed clean shots. He was winning rounds. Then Crawford made the adjustment. In round 5, he dropped Gamboa with a short left. From there, it turned into a systematic beatdown. Crawford switched to southpaw, took away Gamboa's angles, and punished every exchange. He knocked Gamboa down again in round 8, then twice in round 9 before the ref stopped it. Crawford won by TKO. He retained the WBO lightweight title. In July 23, 2016, he faced Victor Postol in a unification bout at 140 pounds. He was tall, rangy, and smart. Crawford didn't care.
I like to see him try to get inside more. Oh, there's a good.
Fighting from southpaw for most of the fight, Crawford took away Postol's jab by staying off-center. He baited him into reaching and punished him every time. In round 5, Crawford dropped him twice with short counters. The rest of the fight was pure control. Crawford dictated distance and pace. Postol had no answers. Final scorecards read 118-107, 118-107, 117-108, a unification blowout. But because Postol wasn't a name casual fans recognized, the win didn't change Crawford's public standing. He had just dominated a world champion in a unification fight, and fans acted like it was routine. Indongo had just shocked the boxing world by knocking out Edward Troyanovsky and outpointing Ricky Burns in his home country. But once again, Crawford didn't hesitate facing him in August 19, 2017. He neutralized Indongo's long-range attacks immediately, closed the distance, targeted the body. In round 2, Indongo hit the canvas from a looping left hand. In round 3, Crawford finished the job with a devastating left to the ribs. Indongo crumpled and didn't beat the count. With that win, Crawford became the first undisputed champion at 140 pounds in the 4-belt era. He had done what most boxers never get close to, and done it in just 32 fights. But instead of launching him to superstardom, the reaction was muted. The narrative remained the same. It was like, yeah, but who has he really beaten? That came 13th October 2018 in the Terence Crawford versus Jose Benavidez Jr. match. Benavidez was undefeated, 27-0. Tall, fast, confident. And this fight wasn't just business, it was personal. At the final press conference, Benavidez shoved Crawford. At the weigh-in, they had to be separated. In the build-up, Benavidez said Crawford was overhyped. Crawford didn't talk, he just stared. In the ring, Crawford fought with patience. Benavidez had early success with his reach, but Crawford calmly picked him apart. He adjusted to Benavidez's straight punches and targeted his body. He switched to southpaw and started dominating the center of the ring. Round 12, just 46 seconds left on the clock. Crawford lands a blistering right uppercut, followed by a clean left hook. Benavidez collapses. It was the first time he'd ever been knocked out. And Crawford barely celebrated. That was the first sign that at 147, Crawford wasn't just fighting for belts, he was fighting for respect. December 14th, 2019, Crawford versus Egidijus Kavaliauskas, aka Mean Machine. This fight exposed how Crawford handles adversity and how quickly he can flip the switch. In round 3, Kavaliauskas landed a clean right hand that wobbled Crawford. Crawford's glove touched the canvas, but the referee ruled it a slip. In reality, it was a knockdown. Crawford didn't complain. He just changed gears. He turned the fight into a firefight, walked Mean Machine down, traded shots inside, started smiling through punches like it was fun. By round 9, he dropped Kavaliauskas with a counter right. Then again in the 10th. Finally, a right uppercut in round 9 ended it. It was another stoppage win. But it showed Crawford's mindset. If you push him, he doesn't panic, he hunts. The fight with Amir Khan on April 20th, 2019 was supposed to be a big-name scalp. Khan was past his prime, but still one of the most recognized names in boxing. It didn't last long. Round 1, Crawford drops Khan with a right hand. From there, it's target practice. Khan survives, but barely. Crawford wins by TKO. Not with a punch, but because Khan chose not to fight on. It was one of the most anticlimactic endings to a major fight in years. But it told you something about Crawford's effect on opponents. The first man who ever stopped Crawford was Shawn Porter. Porter was known for pressure, chin, and cardio. He'd been in with Spence, Thurman, Garcia, Brook, and never been stopped. Always made it close. This was supposed to be Crawford's hardest fight, and it was until it wasn't. For the first 8 rounds, it was tight. Porter charged in. Crawford made reads. The exchanges were rough, both men landed. But by round 9, Crawford had figured out the rhythm. He started timing Porter's entries, landed counters off angles, and in round 10, it happened. First knockdown was a right hook off a pivot. Porter hits the mat. Second knockdown was a counter straight. Porter goes down again. He slams the mat in frustration. Then something unexpected. Kenny Porter, Shawn's own father and trainer, throws in the towel, and the crowd is shocked. But Crawford isn't. After the fight, reporters asked if he knew he had it under control. He said, "They told me I was down on the scorecards. I said, all right. And then I stopped him." It was the first and only time Shawn Porter had ever been stopped in his career. From 2018 to 2023, fans kept asking one question. Why won't Errol Spence fight Terence Crawford? The excuses kept changing. Different promoters, network issues. Wrong side of the street. Crawford unified 140, cleaned out 147. Stopped everyone he faced. Still no Spence fight. Until finally, it happened. They signed in June 2023. No rematch clause, no tune-ups. Just 2 undefeated champions for undisputed at 147. Crawford walked in with a 39-0 record, 30 KOs, and a chip on his shoulder the size of Omaha. The build-up was respectful but tense. Both knew what was at stake, but only one man delivered. The build-up was 5 years in the making. 2 undefeated champions. Crawford, fighting mostly southpaw, timed Spence with a counter right hand that dropped him for the first time in his career. After that, it was academic. Spence tried pressure. He got jabbed to death. Crawford landed clean check hooks every time Spence came in. Spence's eyes started swelling by round 4. His nose bled. He couldn't adjust. Crawford looked 5 steps ahead. Round 7, Crawford drops him again with a right hook. Round 9, one final knockdown. Crawford traps him on the ropes and hammers him. The ref steps in. Punch stats say it all. Crawford, 185 punches landed out of 369 thrown, 50% accuracy. Spence, 96 punches landed out of 480, just 20%. Crawford out-jabbed, out-hooked, and out-thought Spence from a start to finish. He became the first man to knock down and stop Errol Spence, and the first male boxer in history to become undisputed in 2 weight classes. No controversy. No rematch needed. But Spence still triggered the clause. The contract allowed Spence to demand a rematch. And he did. This time at 154. But the public didn't want it. Spence had been exposed. There were serious concerns about his health, his timing, his long layoff, and his eye surgery history. The rematch never materialized in 2024. Spence reportedly suffered neurological damage. Crawford, meanwhile, moved on. He publicly called out Jermell Charlo, the undisputed 154-pound champion, after Charlo lost a one-sided decision to Canelo Alvarez. "Charlo didn't even try," Crawford said. "I'd do worse." There was also talk of a fight with Canelo. Crawford was willing to jump 2 weight classes to make it happen. Not for money, for legacy, but as of 2025, none of those bouts have been signed. Crawford remains undefeated at 40-0. He's knocked out every opponent he's faced since 2016. He's never been down officially. He's barely lost a round. And yet, the doubt still lingers. Terence Crawford has never been promoted like a star. He never got a De La Hoya push. Never got a Mayweather contract. Never had a platform screaming for his greatness. He's never needed it. He turned pro in 2008 with no hype. He won his first world title in 2014 in Scotland, in the other guy's backyard. He became undisputed at 140 by dismantling Ndongo in 3 rounds. He cleaned out 147 despite being politically frozen out of the big fights. And when the walls finally came down, he destroyed Spence and made the entire debate irrelevant. His resume now includes undefeated champions beaten, Gamboa, Postol, Ndongo, and Spence. He neutralized power punchers, Benavidez, Kavaliauskas. He stopped elite pressure fighters, Porter, Horn, and discarded veteran names discarded Khan, Brook. Beyond the stats, it's how he wins. Crawford diagnoses, he adapts in real time. He switches stances, counters off habits, and turns every opponent's strength into a weakness. He doesn't need the first round to win it. He needs it to learn you. That's why fighters hesitate to face him. Not because he's fast or strong, but because once you're figured out, it's over. Terence Crawford's career is what happens when talent refuses to play politics. When he wasn't offered the big fights, he stayed patient. When they said he was unproven, he unbuilt champions. When the world finally gave him a shot at Spence, he made it look like target practice. And still, the sport is quiet. Terence Crawford is 37 years old, but unlike most fighters nearing 40, there's no physical decline, no wars that aged him overnight, no knockdowns, no bruised ego, no signs that he's slowing down. The guy's got no mainstream documentaries, no billion-dollar brand deals, just a fighter who kept showing up and breaking people down. Crawford didn't need a spotlight. He brought a flashlight and found people in the dark. And if this era was fair, his name would already be etched next to Mayweather, Pacquiao, and the greats. But maybe that's his edge. While others chase image, Crawford just collects bodies. Is Terence Crawford the most technically complete fighter of our generation? Or the most overlooked great in boxing history?